So, were the critics right or were the critics wrong? So, over the weekend, I finally went and checked out the new Michael Jackson biopic, Michael. And while the crowd was a lot more timid than I had seen on social media, there was still applause and there were still a few heads bopping up and down around the seats and stuff like that. I also live in a rather mild-mannered area, so, I mean, the idea of watching people, like, get up in the aisle and like start moonwalking was probably far-fetched. To the movie itself, on Rotten Tomatoes, the movie's rotten, it sucks, everybody hates it, all the critics hate it anyway. The audience reaction is super high, it's like almost perfect, and of course the story is somewhere in between all of these reactions. I hate Rotten Tomatoes for numerous amounts of reasons. I don't think it's a very good aggregator. I think if you read a lot of the reviews on there or even the little blurbs, it doesn't give you an accurate idea of how the person actually felt about the movie. So what did I feel about the movie? Well, I'm a big Michael Jackson fan, so I was going into it with, a certain amount of googly eyes, I suppose. And I was thoroughly impressed with the acting of his nephew, Jafar Jackson, who stole the show, has the charisma, has the charm, has the energy, also has the heart and tenderness that I think was true with Michael. Coleman Domingo as Joe Jackson was very, very good and quite intimidating. I think the issue that a lot of people had with this movie is it kind of a sanitized look of Michael's life, and I don't think you can be an actual, critic or reviewer of this and say that, yeah, it was a deep, dark, gritty movie, kind of like Robbie Williams' Better Man or something like that, where it was a warts and all type of biopic. It's certainly not. It picks and chooses what it wants to show and how much it wants to show. There's a lot of subtlety implied with certain things. There's several times throughout the movie where you notice that he's got a little bandage on his nose. I mean, it shows the first time he goes and gets plastic surgery. But, later on, there's like a little bandage on his nose, and then later on, you just happen to notice that his nose is even smaller again, and so there's little things like that where it just shows you, it doesn't explicitly tell you. Now, as far as like the child abuse allegations, it doesn't touch those at all, like period. And it ends right at the bad tour, which to my knowledge is before any of those accusations happened anyway. There's reports that there will be a sequel. Whether or not they will touch those allegations remains to be seen. I know that legally they can't actually talk about certain aspects of the first one. I don't know if they're going to talk about the second court case that he was acquitted of. As far as Joe Jackson goes and the abuse that Michael and the rest of the kids apparently felt under his hand, the Jackson family is a different type of family, right? Like, we don't live in that time period at all anymore where it's acceptable to hit your kids. We don't live in the time period where, you have a quiet mother who lets the dad do whatever and stands up only at the time where, she's pretty sure she's not going to get the shit kicked out of her. Joe Jackson is clearly and obviously the villain of the movie.
I need to think.
I told you what to think.
There's really only two characters in this movie, right? You have Michael and you have Joe Jackson. And that's really the entire movie. Everybody else feels like a secondary character. The mom's in it enough to where, you're aware of her and stuff like that. I wouldn't say the movie does a great job of giving anybody real character development, but the central conflict is Michael and Joe. And even though Joe is clearly the villain of the pick, it still shows that he has a type of kindness and humanity, and that this is the only way that he knew how to provide for his family. This was the only way he knew how to operate. And as far as I can tell, none of the actual Jackson kids hate their dad or think he was an evil monster or anything like that. So they thought he was harsh. They thought he was scary. They thought he was a big imposing force on their lives. I don't think anybody hates him. And that's the kind of nuance that, you don't really get, but you kind of get. It's a weird movie as far as all that goes. It does kind of, it's more of a resurrection of Michael versus like a deep dive, or I assume what critics wanted was a crucifixion of him, right? Like, oh, look at this fucking weird guy. But it is kind of glossy, and it's almost too fast for a 2-hour movie. It kind of just
morning zoomies as usual.
pops along, you know. It doesn't really slow down on anything. It's kind of like monumental event. That's the thing that is interesting about it, though, right? Is that Michael really was like no other pop star before and no other pop star since. This dude was insanely popular and insanely talented. So it's a hard thing to kind of pick apart. I think the thing that the movie shows the best about Michael is that this was a truly lonely guy who didn't feel like he fit in even with his own family in a lot of ways and respects. He was immediately the star. He was immediately, having hundreds of people's attention on him. And so you do get a depiction that this was a lonely man, and that loneliness brought out eccentricities with himself that I don't think anybody, psychologists could probably study this guy for ages and still not come up with a clear answer on what was going on. He adopted a llama to be his friend. He adopted a monkey to be his friend. He adopted a giraffe to be his friend. Stuff like this. I don't know about you, but I don't know anybody that owns a giraffe to be their friend, right? And the fact that he knew he couldn't trust anybody really outside of that, his inner family, and it shows that in the movie, he can't really trust his family either, because if his dad is controlling every aspect of his life and not always making the best decisions for him, then how could you trust anybody, right? As far as the performances go and the music and all that, obviously it's a great freaking soundtrack. Some of the greatest songs ever written, some of the greatest choreography we've ever seen by one of the greatest dancers ever, probably the greatest dancer ever. And luckily for us as an audience, we got to see his nephew can channel some of that greatness. One standout performance that I really loved in the movie was there's a scene where he's performing Human Nature with the Jacksons, and that to me, I haven't heard anybody talk about this. Human Nature in the Michael movie is the best portrayal of Michael in the entire film. Everything else is really, really good and really on spot. It's the little nuances of the performance. If you ever just have time to go down a Michael Jackson rabbit hole and watch his live performances and watch his mannerisms and movements on Human Nature, there's just a lot of slight, subtle movements that he makes with his face, that he does with his body, his hands. Jafar got all of that, like, to a T. It was incredible. And I just was kind of overtaken by it. And I wanted to sing along with the crowd and whatnot, but I knew that Jolene was going to, smack me. Shut the fuck up. All in all, though, at the end, I really enjoyed the movie. I thought it was a lot of fun. Could it have been a little heavier? Yes. Could it have been a little more personal? Yes. Do I care? Not really. It was really, really good. It's well acted. There's enough tender moments in it. There's enough little things in it that make you, it almost just kind of plants the seeds of what this guy's life was like. This is one of the biggest performers ever. The biggest performer ever. We have no idea what he was really going through or what he really felt or anything like that. He had to be insanely secluded due to the sheer amount of popularity he had. So it was a big task. One of the other things I wanted to talk about briefly was just, where's the credit for Anton Fuqua? This guy is an incredible director, and I hear a lot of people complaining about, black representation and shit like that and whatever. This guy's an incredible director who has made some huge movies. They're always well made, well executed, have a singular focus and vision. All I hear about is Ryan Coogler and Sinners, which is just a ripoff of From Dusk Till Dawn. Black Panther, which was a ripoff of about 50 90s movies and early 2000s movies. I hated that movie. I mean, Anton Fuqua has made incredible movies, and nobody talks about him at all. He's probably one of the most, I would bet, he's one of the most commercially successful black directors of all time. He's not mentioned with Spielberg. He's not mentioned with Tarantino. He's not mentioned with Ridley Scott or any of these other people. He's kind of quiet and under the radar. Doesn't put his name up. You know, it's not like, oh, it's a Christopher Nolan film. It's an Anton Fuqua film. You don't see that. This guy's really good. And I think it's time we all start giving him our flowers. He has created one of my favorite trilogies of the last 20 years, which is the Equalizer trilogy with Denzel Washington. He's responsible for Training Day. He's responsible for the Magnificent Seven remake, which was way better than everybody remembers it and way more badass than anybody thinks it was. I mean, I could, on and on and on. This guy's got hit movies everywhere. Michael, the biggest music biopic ever. Let's just admit, this guy's it, right? This guy is the guy. He's the director, Anton Fuqua. Good job. Congratulations to him. Congratulations to Jafar. If they make a Michael 2, I'll be there ready to watch it. I'll be there. I actually think they could do something really interesting. You could show a kind of glossy, positive rise, and then you could show the deeper, darker warts and all types of stuff in the second one, and then still have kind of a story of triumph to end the whole thing. Because Michael did, and a lot of people say sadly. I don't think it was that sad. It was pretty triumphant if you watch his documentary, This Is It. And, you know, the guy couldn't help the fact that he was murdered by a reckless doctor. But anyway, the movie's great. You should go watch it. The music's great. I urge you all to just go and deep dive his music. Not just the hits. There's a lot of good stuff in all of his albums that was not particularly popular. You know, like those hidden gems. He's got a lot of really good hidden gems. I urge everybody to go check out the song Morphine. Really, really great song. 2000 Watts, another great song. Maybe I'll do a video of that, recommending all my favorite Michael Jackson gems that nobody's ever heard. Anyway, that's it for today's video. Go check out Michael. Like, follow, subscribe. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the movie, if you like the movie. And if you think Michael Jackson's a pedophile, I don't want to hear from you. How about that? Because he wasn't. Anyway, thank you very much. This is The Act.